Was getting quality shots all night long. Trevor Yeboah-Cody with the goal in front. 3-0 Trojans.
You're watching boys high school lacrosse on News 12 Varsity. This is the grandest stage of them all for Long Island Lacs. The defending champs go up against a team looking for their first ever title. This is the Long Island Class B Championship from Stewart Stadium on the campus of Hofstra University. Harborfields, representing Suffolk County, takes on Garden City, the winners from Nassau. Hello everyone and welcome. Along with Matt Shortis, I'm David Resnick. Both these teams hot coming in to this LIC.
That's right, David. I mean, we talked about Harborfields coming off their first Suffolk County championship since 1992, and Garden City played perhaps their best game of the season against Manhasset in the Nassau County championship game, where they defeated their rivals 15-5. I mean, defensively, they've been sound all season long. Harborfields, much the same defensively. They're going to bring the pressure.
So Harborfields today going up against not only the Garden City players against them, but the tradition of the Trojans as well. How can PJ Clemente lead the way for the Tornadoes?
Well, Clemente is a talented attackman. You saw it a moment ago on that goal he had against EI. He is a guy that will not come off the field. He commits to UMass Amherst, can score right-handed, can score left-handed. He'll play some attack, he'll play some midfield. He's a guy that's always in the mix in terms of what Harborfields is trying to do.
As for Garden City, third straight trip to the LIC. It's a deep offense. How does Liam Muldoon fit in?
Muldoon is a legacy-type player for Garden City. The fourth Muldoon to play for Steve Fennell and company, and he's a guy that's been around. They have a lot of dynamic, athletic pieces to Garden City, and Liam Muldoon, the first-year starter, fits into that 50-point score on the attack. He and Trevor Yeboah-Cody are a potent 1-2 punch offensively for the Trojans.
It is Destiny versus Dynasty. Harborfields look for their first ever LIC against the defending champs of Garden City. The Class B Long Island Championship is next on News 12 Varsity. Back here at Stewart Stadium, Garden City and Harborfields play for the Long Island Championship. The third member of our broadcast team is Amanda Puglisi down on the sidelines. Amanda?
Well, David, the championship games usually mean so much to their communities, but for these two coaches, they are coaching their respective alma maters. And when you look at Coach Levy, he says he really didn't think much about bringing his team to the Long Island Championship until neighbors started knocking on his door. His former teammates would tell him how much it means for him to be the one to bring Harborfields back to a Long Island Championship. And of course, you have Coach Fennell as well on the Garden City side, and he says after his family, it's Garden City is the second most important thing to him. He has been bleeding maroon and white for a very long time.
And he has continued the legacy of Garden City lacrosse, started many decades ago as the Trojans open up with the opening face-off win thanks to Justin Coppola.
David, I'm interested to see how Harborfields presses out defensively. Coach Glenn Levy said, we are going to make sure that they are not comfortable like they were against Manhasset in the Nassau County Championship. So interested to see how, in terms of an intensity and a tactician standpoint, they decide to play that.
Garden City at 15-3. Winners of 7 straight. Defeating Manhasset 15-5 in the Nassau County Championship. It was the 11th time they played their rival for a county title. The 10-goal margin, the largest in their history.
And quite a turnaround from the regular season meeting, too.
Kyle Steinbach is fended off by Zach Yorio. The senior and 3-year starter makes an early stop. On the reload, Steinbach whistles one high. This is the matchup when Garden City has the ball. 15 in white. Trevor Yeboah-Cody will be draped by Lucas Colmer all game long. That shot on the run. Will Puccio misses the target. You're looking at the #1 offense in Nassau County, generating a ton of shots on their opening possession.
Yeah, and Steve Fennell knew that the pressure was going to come from Harborfields. He knows that they like to press out, so it seems like they're trying to counter that pressure by quick shots, getting into offensive quickly, and throwing a ton of rubber towards the cage.
Liam Muldoon on the restart, a sidewinding shot, missing the frame.
Outside of the one Steinbach shot, there's not been a lot of quality in terms of scoring chances, but they figure that quantity will trump quality right now.
Garden City on their second 7-game win streak of the season. They went on their first run after they started 1-2, but both those defeats non-league. Cole Dutton, part of the first midfield line, puts one on frame, and Yorio snatches it out of the air. And while Harborfields is aggressive defensively, the Garden City Ride is athletic as well. Thomas Sangiovanni with an elusive move at midfield, and now we see the Tornadoes offense for the first time. #10 in Suffolk County, averaging a shade under 11 goals per game.
And the second half of the season, they've really come alive. The midfield with Osman and Bifulco, those guys have done a bulk of their scoring in the second half of the season, taking some of the load off of PJ Clemente. David, I thought it was interesting, Coach Glenn Levy's sort of philosophy in terms of this game. I mean, so many good little tidbits he had against Garden City.
Low shot, fended off. Teddy Dolan answers Yorio with a low save.
You know, he said, honestly, we haven't been to this stage in the season, so I'm not even sure if these kids really understand exactly how good Garden City is in terms of program history. He said, I could have said GC, maybe it would have been Glen Cove, just the same for them. So I don't think that they're approaching it the same as others might, seeing Garden City on the front of the opposing jersey.
Muldoon from X. Tyler Wukta having trouble with the pass. Joe Scatterigia settles. And the second midfield line for Garden City trots onto the field. Yeboah-Cody drops to the midfield. Gavin Pappas completes the unit.
It was a very interesting Nassau County playoff run for Garden City. I mean, they beat Long Beach 20-3 in the quarterfinals, then a rain-soaked overtime game where they scored just 3 goals, and then the manhandling of Manhasset in the finals.
Harborfields clears successfully after picking up the loose ball. Ian McGullum uses a screen. Jimmy Bifulco. And now PJ Clemente. He will see a lot of Colin Hart. Clemente can move to the midfield as well. Hart, a close defender, will chase him there throughout the game. So we brought up Yeboah-Cody and Colmer on this end of the field look for Clemente against Hart. As Garden City forces a turnover, and they give it right back. Beg your pardon, Trojans calling timeout, saving possession here in the first quarter.
You know, 6 minutes in, it's still a feeling out process. I mean, this is a matchup that is unfamiliar to both sides. So you go from Garden City playing Manhasset, who they probably know as good as any opponent, to taking on a team that hasn't been at this stage of the season in 20+ years. And for Harborfields, this is obviously also new to them as they've gone through this experience. Glenn Levy, the 5th-year head coach at Harborfields, this is the 4th time in the playoffs for him, and it's the first time they've won a playoff game with Glenn Levy as head coach. So this first 6 minutes, it's been a lot of feeling out, kind of passing the ball around, getting comfortable in these settings as Harborfields and Garden City are trying to settle into this game.
Harborfields, the #1 seed in the Suffolk B playoffs, defeating East Islip in the championship game, sweeping the season series against the 3 seed in what was their first title game appearance since their last title in 1992. Harborfields is into the Long Island Championship for the 4th time in their school history. Back in 1987, they lost to Elmont. 2 years later, a defeat against the same Spartans. And then 1992, when Harborfields won their 3rd county title in 6 years, they lost to Lynbrook. And now all these years later, Harborfields back playing in an LIC after winning a county title.
Glenn Levy saying his dad, longtime coach at Locust Valley, started the program at Locust Valley. And he said whenever he got to a county final, it was always against Garden City or Manhasset. So he said it was a bit serendipitous that he's in the Long Island Championship and it's Garden City that he sees on the other side of the field. Though in most of those cases,
Basile, Puccio. Garden City takes the 1-0 lead.
Well, we saw early on that Garden City was willing to just throw a lot of rubber towards the cage to begin this game. Nice look upfield by Basile. Puccio, good cut off ball. He gets a little loose, had the short stick on him. And the opening finds Garden City on top to begin this contest.
So it's a Garden City goal after calling timeout to save possession here in the first quarter. Took better than 6 minutes before our first goal, as Tommy DeVito, who's won 62% of the faceoffs he has taken, wins it through a violation. Under 5 minutes to play. Stephen Markowski checking in for the first time for Harborfields. About 10 different players could see time offensively, and Glenn Levy depends on his lineup through matchups, style of play, who's locked in. And so players who we see early, it's possible that the rotation gets shorter late. San Giovanni dodging. Markowski moving along to Bifocal. And then the pass is intercepted. Good stick by Colin Hart, who races forward into the box. Yorio after the loose ball. and a ground ball battle in which Harborfields will not be intimidated by Garden City. Feed up to Markowski, unsettled without numbers. A left-handed shot for Clementi is finessed wide of the cage.
Yeah, I don't know if Glenn Levy loves the intensity by Yorio or was holding his breath for a long time with his keeper out of cage. You knew they would be aggressive defensively coming into this game, and Yorio, seeing an opportunity after Hart had grounded the ball, works out for Harborfields.
3.5 minutes to go, first quarter. One save so far for Garden City goalie Teddy Dolan. Durasmo dodging from X. Aiden Costello gets a run in the midfield. Out there with San Giovanni and Osman. San Giovanni, trouble with the pass. Transition for Garden City as they've looked to push the ball more this season. Long pull, Ryan Bice lunging forward, shoots it wide.
Well, Bice made the right decision. Nobody slid up to get him. So as the guy coming from the point, you go until someone slides, and if no one slides, you take the shot. So he did the right thing, just wasn't on target. Meanwhile, Garden City throws the ball away here. Harborfields has 2 unforced errors, so both teams trying to get settled offensively into this game.
Steven Sparakis checking in for the Trojans. After DeSimplicis ran end-to-end. That's a rip from Clementi, looking for his first goal after a hat trick in the county final, and he is denied by Dolan. Garden City again pushing it on the high crease. Yorio getting a piece of the offering from Matt Granville. It's out of bounds, stays with the Trojans.
The slides have been there for Harborfields. Even if the initial pass is there for Garden City, the defender coming is right in the face of the offensive player, at least on that sequence for Garden City, as soon as they turn to shoot.
Will Puccio, the only goal scorer for Garden City, as the Trojans lead 1-0. James Basile had the assist. Joe Scatarigia and the second midfield unit on for Garden City. Although there's a first liner and Steinbach whistling one wide. 90 seconds to go in the first quarter. A low-scoring LIC. Ball is on the deck. Great play by Ryan Rigoletti. Markowski up front for Harborfields, and the Tornadoes can settle.
Rigoletti missed the first 5 or 6 games of the season with an injury, with some illness. They weren't sure if he was going to return at all. So to be on the field at this point of the season, make a strong play defensively, gets Harborfields the ball back in the last minute or so here in the first quarter.
So 9 in green is the catalyst for Harborfields. He has shifted to midfield as the Tornadoes rotate through their offensive personnel. They've won 9 in a row, starting the season with 4 straight wins, dropping then 3 of 4, and sparked by an overtime win against the defending county champs of ESM. Started a 9-game win streak. That one skipped in by Fulco, and Teddy Dolan another stop in this opening quarter. Garden City with time. Yaboa Cody drops the stick and sends one wide. The restart with 3 seconds left. Yaboa Cody cutting and scoring. Set up by Cole Dutton off the restart. Garden City up 2-0.
Now those goals are backbreakers. Sometimes those goals are tough to come back from. Goals in the last minute of a period Not only that, Harborfields had the ball inside a minute to go. On a restart, they find Jaboa Cody. And he deposits it lower right corner. After a big game in the Nassau County Championship game, he's got another goal today.
Had 4 points in that championship game. Bettering Manhasset by 10 goals. 0.9 on the clock. Time for just a scrum as the first 12 minutes are in the books. Low scoring first quarter. Teddy Dolan and Zach Iorio playing well in goal. Trojans by 2 after 1 here from Hofstra. Nassau against Suffolk. This is the Long Island Championship in Class B, as the Nassau representative, Garden City, has the 2-0 lead over Harborfields, the Suffolk B champ. Garden City has won 15 Long Island championships, 14 of them coming in the state tournament era dating back to 1977. Steve Fennell, who you see there, the head coach of Garden City, a 5-time Long Island champion. And Nassau County represented well on that list. Garden City, their arch rival Manhasset, Lynbrook as well, making a trip to the New York State Final Four. With Matt Shortis, I'm David Resnick, and Amanda Puglisi listened in on the Harborfields huddle.
And Coach Levy telling his guys, when a ball goes out of bounds, that's not the time for us to take a breather, as we saw with how that first quarter just ended. He said, on defense, you need to continue to be feisty. We're going to take our breaks on offense. He said, don't push it up if we don't have anything. Bring the ball up over half court and over the half field mark, and then take a breath. Offense is where we rest, guys.
It's funny that Amanda said half court, because Coach Levy has been an assistant on the Harborfields basketball staff for the last 5 years or so, and they have had tremendous success both in a county and Long Island sense. Of course, a powerhouse program in terms of basketball, so he's talked about not being uncomfortable on this stage and learning from those experiences and some of the things he's done differently heading into this game against Garden City.
Face-off battle between Tommy DeVito of Harborfields and Justin Coppola of Garden City, who won 15 of 23 draws in the county title game. Another win here as we get settled at the start of the second quarter. It was interesting speaking with Coach Levy, who's now in his 5th season coaching his alma mater. He said Garden City expects to win. Harborfields is the underdog, and instead of then saying, which you'll hear a lot of, all the pressure's on them, Coach Levy instead remarked that because of that mentality, the Tornadoes need to match the intensity. They have to be as energetic as their counterparts. As a shot from Dutton, who assisted on the last-second goal at the end of the first quarter, goes wide, and Garden City doesn't have a backup in place.
And I loved the mentality when he was kind of expounding on that, where he said, it's so easy to say to my team, well, Garden City is expected to win, all the pressure's on them. He said, I don't like that, because it's then telling my team that, oh, it's almost like we're not expected to win. No, I want my team to expect that of themselves. And I said to them, in 2 months, he could be on a boat somewhere being happy about the county championship, but he said, I'm not ready to reminisce yet. So whoever's ready to practice tomorrow, let's get out there.
It's very interesting as Harborfields on Thursday night had what was originally planned as an end-of-a-year celebration turned out to be a team dinner and a function because the season is still in progress. So moving forward, they're going to have to push that date a little further into June. Clemente passes backside. Extra feed. San Giovanni tied up. And timeout taken by the Tornadoes.
That's a real interesting decision. You almost never see a coach call a timeout in a settled 6-on-6 situation like that? When do the timeouts normally come? Usually they come off a face-off when as soon as you get the possession. But Coach Levy saw that pressure coming from the Garden City defense and said, we're down 2-0. I don't want to give up a possession here at the top of the box for the third straight time, so I'm going to take a timeout here, use one of my 2 timeouts, and give my offense a chance to regroup. Let's talk things over. Let's figure out what we want to do offensively, and let's figure out a way to get our midfielders going. Let's figure out a way to get PJ Clemente going, and let's figure out a way to get one in the back of the net here.
Harborfields using a timeout after Garden City called for time in the first quarter, which led to their opening goal. Trojans, they were the number 2 seed in the Nassau County playoffs. They lost in the regular season version of the Woodstick against Manhasset, as the Indians took the number 1 seed. Almost a hiccup in the semifinals against Southside. 3-2, the overtime winner by Liam Curtin. And Steve Fennell, 199 and 45 in his 12 seasons. That win total, according to Lax Power, a win today would be his 200th as the varsity head coach of his alma mater, after spending 9 years in the JV under legendary Garden City headman Doc Daugherty.
That Garden City win in the county finals, it opened a lot of eyes, I think. And I think Coach Fennell feels like that's Garden City playing to their potential. When you look at their losses this year, they scored 3 goals against West. They scored 2 goals in a 5-2 loss to Calvert Hall out of Maryland, and they scored only 4 goals in Woodstick round 1 during the regular season. And it was because they didn't possess the ball. Coach Fennell says, this is as athletic of a team that I have had in my tenure, and if we have possession, if we're out in transition, if we have the ball in our sticks, that's the ability that we're capable of playing to, and that's the level of play we can get to. Harborfields has done a pretty good job negating that so far. Harborfields has to find their offense, but they've done a pretty decent job defensively against the Trojans in this first quarter plus.
Midfield unit of Clemente by Fulkel and McGullum.
And as you said, Dave, they're going to keep you on your toes because there is no set attack. There is no set midfield group. Coach Levy kind of plays it by ear and sees what matchups he feels work well against an individual opponent as the game's going on.
Aiden Costello, Danny Allenwick out there as well. Pass deflected, ball on the turf. Still loose. And Tyler Wukta tracks it down, a 4-year starter at short stick defensive midfield.
Coach Fennell says he might be the best at that position that he has had in his tenure at GC. And, you know, we talk about the experience of Garden City, obviously the Lacrosse name brand of Garden City, but you know, you look at the rest of this calendar year in terms of Garden City sports on the boys' side. Football, 2-time defending Long Island champs and Rutgers Trophy winners. Basketball won a county championship for the first time in a Long Island. Boys soccer won a Long Island championship. So these guys that are multi-sport athletes for Garden City, they know how to win. They know what it feels like to be on this stage and to take care of business.
4 minutes gone by into the second quarter. Garden City with a 2-0 lead. Both tallies in the opening 12 minutes. Scatteregia was around the crease, now up top. Trevor Yaboa Cody, overhand release. It bounces wide. Quickly to the end line was Gavin Pappas.
Yaboa Cody has taken 3 shots today. One of them has gone in. He has got an absolute cannon when he gets time and space.
Scatteregia inverts. On the crease, beautifully done. Liam Muldoon on the welcome mat. Set up by Scatteregia. Garden City extends the lead.
Muldoon, a beautiful backdoor cut. He started to cut one way and completely snuck by Mac Grover, the senior defender. Grover starts to slide out on Scatteregia. And Muldoon, his good awareness senses that and kind of tiptoes to GLE. No chance for Yorio.
Muldoon had a 4-point Nassau County championship. That's a hold against DeVito. Another face-off win for Justin Coppola, who's bound for Villanova.
And you get a feeling this is a big pivotal point in this game from a Harborfields perspective. It was make it, take it for Garden City. They've not really had a tremendously good look at Teddy Dolan, who's got a couple of saves early on. They need to stop here and they need to get some offensive mojo going.
Puccio from X. Again against Osman. And with 6:40 to go, here's a dodge from the top for Steinbach. Made all conference last year as a junior. Into the starting lineup this season before heading to Providence. He rifles a pass to Dutton, who shoots low, and Zach Yorio drops the stick. His outlet to Osman, and now unsettled for the Tornadoes.
Again, from a defensive standpoint, that's exactly what they needed. A shot, top of the box, fairly easy save for Yorio. Now offensively, can they find something that works?
Costello to MJ Buckholtz. A pass to the middle, and it's going back the other way. Yaboa Cody on the crease. And a crease violation. Gives it back to Harborfields after Yorio got in front of the shot.
You know, Yaboa Cody made the unselfish play, but might have been the better lacrosse play to take that shot.
High riser to the back screen out of the pocket of Liam Muldoon. Danny Bacafola, the long stick midfielder, doing a lot of good transition work for Garden City in that last sequence. Puccio, Yaboa Cody, and Muldoon, Liam, the 3 goal scorers. Liam's younger brother Jack, a backup attackman. This is Basile curling around, missing wide. Muldoon on the rebound, feeds the front. Scatteregia knocks it down. 4 straight for Garden City to open up this Class B LIC.
3 of them have come from passes from X to right on the crease. Don't know if that's something that Garden City saw in the scouting, but 3 of the 4 goals, as soon as the ball is back at X, they look towards the crease, and Scatteregia and Muldoon hooking up for the 2nd consecutive time. First time it was Scatteregia finding Muldoon, then Muldoon returns the favor.
So 1-1 for both Joe Scatteregia and Liam Muldoon. Steve Fennell carrying that clipboard. It is as synonymous for him on the sideline as his maroon hat. Off the wing, timeout called. Lucas Colmer scooping up the ground ball for Harborfields, winning their first face-off of the 2nd quarter.
David, Glenn Levy of Harborfields telling us one thing we need to do is match their intensity. And to this point, they have not done that. Garden City has gotten to a majority of the ground balls. Garden City is forcing Harborfields into unforced errors or forced errors. And Harborfields has got to find something offensively that is going to work for them with 4:37 to go in the first half, still looking for their first tally.
Glenn Levy calls Harborfield a lacrosse town, and he was so happy with the way the community really responded, both those currently living in Harborfields, but also the alums as well. And Glenn Levy has been in a lot of championship games, and for that reason, he doesn't get nervous in terms of coaching, but he did admit in our conversation, knowing how much the town is behind him, how many people came out to support him today, in that respect, he felt a little bit of the nerves.
Yeah, he was, when we were asking him about going up against Garden City, and like you said, he said Harborfields is a lacrosse town. They have a youth program with 400 to 500 guys and girls, and in terms of basketball, it's something that they have cultivated. Boys and girls basketball is so strong at Harborfields, and he said that's been in place. It's been that way for a long time. What was lacking was the continuity from the youth programs to the middle school program to the JV to the high school, and when he came in, that continuity started to come together. He said every practice in Harborfields, whether you're 5 years old in kindergarten or whether you're a senior on the varsity, starts the same exact way. And philosophical similarities from the high school level all the way down to the youth are now consistent throughout.
Glenn Levy grew up in Harborfields, still lives in the community, was a junior back on the 1992 Suffolk County title team, the last county victory for Harborfields prior to this season. Procedural call against Harborfields. Out of the timeout, a turnover, transition the other way. Yeboah Cody finds a streaking Joe Scatteregia, and just like that, Garden City cashes in.
Just an absolute change for Harborfields. They're looking at coming out of the timeout, then quickly they get called for a procedure on illegal substitution. And Garden City on a quick restart. Scatteregia had 3 goals coming into today. He's got 3 points here in the first half.
A key member of that varsity basketball team that Matt mentioned earlier that went 22-1 and secured their first county title in 60 years. A county title in lacrosse is a bit more common. 21 of them in the state tournament era, which started in 1977. Back-to-back face-off wins for Harborfields. Tornadoes looking for their first goal. Markowski pivoting. Markowski scores. Dolan got a piece, but could not keep it from going over the line. And the freshman, Stephen Markowski, puts Harborfields on the board.
Markowski, a guy that started about half the season for Harborfields. And Dolan, I think he was trying to make a case that he saved that one or was trying to play it cool initially. It popped back out. The far side official came over and said it did in fact go in. It was behind the goal line, and we'll take another look here. And it did look like in the bottom right corner of our screen right now that it did cross the goal line. Never exactly hit net, but it was enough. And Harborfields can breathe a sigh of relief in a sense. They are on the board.
Off the wing, Bacafola for Garden City picks up the ground ball. Transition, a fake and a high shot. Justin Coppola staying on after winning the faceoff and sending that high. Cole Dutton is a senior bound for Lafayette. He's directed by his head coach, Steve Fennell, to take Jonathan Osman behind the net.
And this is where they've been so dangerous, when they've looked to pass from X. Watch the cutters up top. Yeboah Cody's there right now among those at the top of the box.
Gavin Pappas inverts. Across the crease, and Yorio picks it off. We've gotten confirmation from our terrific crew back in the truck that the Markowski goal 100% crossed the goal line. Quick stick for Clemente, and he couldn't squeeze it. Garden City racing back the other way for another settled possession.
Clemente's looked unsettled in this game. He's trying to do too much. He's rushing his shots a little bit. Even there, had an opportunity, didn't have to quick stick that.
He's a player that puts up big numbers in meaningful games, but so far has been draped by Colin Hart, the 3-year starting junior for Garden City, and his defensive effort has made the difference. Trojans scored the game's first 5 goals. A freshman for Harborfields, Stephen Markowski, got the Tornadoes on the board. And now Garden City slowing it down offensively. Dutton shakes free and jumps with a shot attempt that misses the target. 1 3/4 minutes to go in the first half. Garden City, the defending champs of Class B in Long Island. They followed up a loss 2 years ago against Shoreham Wading River in this game with a victory over Eastport South Manor. Inside, Dutton falls. Zach Yorio, who had a terrific Suffolk County final. 15 stops is enough of a deterrent between the pipes to really force Garden City to work hard for their shots. Yeboah Cody in tight. And a crease violation. Muldoon stepping in the circle. Wipe that grade A opportunity off the board.
It's the second time that Garden City has had a goal negated because of a crease violation.
Trojans back defensively. Osman splits 2, lost the ball on the way down. Here's Garden City. Again, more of an emphasis this season to push the ball unsettled. But they still have the lacrosse IQ in addition to the athleticism. James Basile sees the clock and says, let's hold on. We're in control, time is winding down. Let's play smart.
Part of that is the championship pedigree we talked about. First quarter, similar situation. Harborfields had the ball, less than a minute to go. They force an offensive opportunity. Garden City comes down the other way after a turnover, scores it with 9/10 of a second left. Here they get it back with late time again.
Off the pipe, Puccio inverting from X. 7.2 to go. Scatteregia immediately picks it up. 4 seconds to go. That's rifled high with 1.2 on the clock after Steinbeck shot it from the outside. That's whipped into the back of the net, and the first half has come to a conclusion.
The goal for Harborfields was to make Garden City uncomfortable, and for much of that first half, especially in the second quarter, they looked pretty comfortable, dodging towards cage, dodging without the ball, and especially on the crease. So if Harborfields wants to battle their way back into this game, defensively they have to shore things up on the crease, but Garden City right now looking confident after their Nassau County crown.
It's a halftime lead for the defending champs. Halftime on News 12 Varsity. Took some time though, Matt, in the first quarter to get things going. It was a defensive struggle at first.
Yeah, for the first 6 minutes, nobody scored, but eventually Garden City did find a way to score. Both goals in that first quarter for the Trojans coming from X. First, Basile finding Puccio, and then Yeboah Cody connecting on a late goal in the first quarter. Garden City was up 2-0. Defensively, the Trojans were pretty stout. Teddy Dolan making a stop. Garden City would get going in that second quarter. Scatarigia hooking up with Muldoon, and then moments later, Liam Muldoon from X over the middle finding Scatarigia. That would make it 4-0 Trojans. Garden City would add another goal from Scatarigia off a Harborfields turnover. But finally, Harborfields would get on the board. The freshman Markowski. Teddy Dolan wasn't sure of it, but it did go in, and it's a 5-1 Garden City lead at halftime.
Harborfields, better job in the second quarter, winning some faceoffs. But possession time with the Trojans, they are pelting the net area with 26 shots overall in the first half. 4 different goal scorers, 6 different players with a point.
Yeah, not a great percentage, but it didn't seem like Garden City was putting it too high of a high priority on that percentage. They came out first quarter just throwing rubber towards cage. So they only have 8 shots on goal, but they're sending a lot of rubber to Yorio's way.
Ground ball battle to the Trojans as well. That was a point of emphasis for Harborfields coming in. Halftime continues as Garden City has the lead. Garden City has the lead, 5-1 over Harborfields. Halftime at the Class B LIC. Second game of 3. Our triple header coverage from Hofstra University continues. Islip from Suffolk County coming off of their first ever county championship against the gold standard of Class C, not just on Long Island, but in New York State. The 3-time defending champs are on a quest for their 4th straight New York State championship. They will have to take down the Buccaneers in order to continue that journey. That is coming up after the conclusion of Class B. Defensive battle so far in this first half. Teddy Dolan for Garden City has only allowed 1 tally.
Yeah, Dolan has been strong. They've held that man, PJ Clementi, in check. He's been held without a point so far in this game. And even the 1 goal that Harborfields did score, Dolan got a piece of it. Second-year starter, trying to get off Long Island for the first time as a Long Island champ.
Teddy Dolan and Garden City with the halftime lead as this senior continues his warm-ups before the start of the second half, which is next on News 12 Varsity. Closing moments of halftime as the Garden City Trojans come storming onto the field with the third quarter just moments away. It was interesting to watch Garden City with Matt Shortis. I'm David Resnick, Amanda Puglisi as well from Hofstra. Our entire News 12 Varsity crew look to push the ball in transition, but then settle things down and really value possession offensively.
Yeah, especially in the first quarter, through the first 6-7 minutes of this game, it seemed like they were trying to feel Harborfields out, see what Harborfields was going to do defensively. And it seems like they've figured out their game plan to match whatever Harborfields is bringing, because they've been aggressive to the crease. Early on, they were throwing a lot of rubber towards the cage, taking whatever shots they saw with whatever openings they saw, but they were a bit more selective in that second quarter, and it worked to their advantage, scoring the 3 goals in that second quarter.
In total, 5 goals for Garden City, all of them assisted. Their goals have come off of really good looks, as Matt mentioned, on the crease, but through teamwork, through passing, not so much dodging so far. For the Nassau County champs, as they won the county title for the 3rd straight season, trying to back up their LIC from a year ago and advance once again to the New York State semifinals in the state. Halftime adjustments, what will they be for both sides? For that answer, we check in with Amanda.
Well, for Harborfields, their message at halftime is simple. We are just getting out physical by Garden City. They are coming up, they are setting the pace, they are setting the tempo, and they are just playing so strong that we need to step up and we need to match their level. And as far as Garden City goes, Coach Vanel says we need to win the third quarter. Obviously, we won the first half, but the third quarter is so important for us here. Yes, it's hot, and it's a little bit of a tough condition, but it's tough conditions for both teams, so we just really need to come out and grind it here in the third quarter.
I would agree with Coach Levy's assessment. I mean, that was the intention for Harborfields coming into this game, is to match Garden City's intensity, and you would not be able to put a check mark next to that objective in the first half. Can they do it here in the second half? That'll go a long way to deciding who wins this game.
Garden City won the first quarter 2-0. They were better than Harborfields in the second quarter by a margin of 3-1. Another quarter like that, as Steve Fennell was referencing, might put this game away. Tommy DeVito winning the faceoff. Good start for the Tornadoes to begin the second half.
And DeVito's been good in this game. Can they capitalize on that advantage? Because they had too many unforced errors in the first half. Can they find number 9 in green and get him going as well?
Tommy DeVito has recovered from a rough start. So much about the play at the faceoff X is making the adjustment and then being able to counter when your opponent makes an adjustment as well. Here's PJ Clementi. Again, the matchup against Colin Hart. Advantage Garden City so far, as Steven Markowski is the only goal scorer. He put one in unassisted for Harborfields. And add one more. Tornadoes getting a goal from Jimmy Bifulco, and the Tornadoes bench erupts.
Well, not exactly the shot that Harborfields would have wanted, but Bifulco had enough time and space. He felt good to crank that one towards Dolan. And Dolan didn't quite see it too well. Exactly the start that Harborfields needed.
Tornadoes have now scored back-to-back goals, bridging the second to third quarters. And DeVito is starting to get into a rhythm for Harborfields at the face-off X. Justin Coppola wins it cleanly. He's into traffic, and now the ground ball battle. Harborfields much better pursuit, as possession is still not claimed.
Dave, I think that's an astute observation on your part. First half, that was a Garden City possession probably 80% of the time after that ball hit the turf.
Poor outlet pass. A stick was dropped, and then Costello's broke. Transition the other way, and Garden City has taken advantage of every opening. Kyle Steinbeck, 6'2" Trojans.
That started with a forced pass to PJ Clementi. He couldn't hold on to it, knocked away by Tyler Wukta, the short stick defensive midfielder. And Wukta capitalized once Costello lost the head of his stick. Costello had to go back to the bench. Wukta had nobody guarding him, so in essence, it was an unsettled and fast break opportunity for Garden City. Wukta finding Steinbeck down low.
Coppola shoots it high after his second consecutive clean win. Trevor Yeboah-Cody hesitates. He's got a favorable matchup against Thomas San Giovanni. Imagine this is going to be a quick slide for the Tornadoes. Yeboah Cody spins inside Yorio. That's a huge stop. The slide came from the crease, and Yorio met the stick of Trevor Yeboah Cody. Keeps it just a 4-goal game as San Giovanni tricky through the midfield. He swims on another defender, that's Steven Sparakis. Now Clemente trying to bull his way inside. Three minutes gone by, that's a forced pass. Garden City with their sticks, too good in the passing lanes to try that attempt.
They've got numbers again.
Yorio the save. Denies Colin Hart in transition. Yorio with his 5th save and another Harborfields turnover. Dutton, extra pass on the crease. Liam Curtin slams it home. A slight hesitation. He recollected and bombed one to the back of the net.
So even with a drop pass, Garden City still had so much time coming out of that transition. Harborfields, it's as simple as this. They have to find a way to take care of the ball. There's too many passes through the middle that Garden City is having an easy time either intercepting or tracking to knock down, which leads to fast break chances. This team, as Steve Fennell talked about, it's too athletic, it's too deep, and you're not going to beat them that way. And the inverse of that, Garden City is just doing a tremendous job reading what Harborfields is trying to do. Their sticks are up in the passing lane. They're forcing turnovers. They're creating the turnovers. And they take a timeout here.
Saving Justin Coppola, who is right along the sideline. Last goal for Garden City, assisted by Liam Muldoon, picking up his 2nd helper and 3rd point overall. Garden City is lacrosse royalty. Their championships go all the way back to the 40s. And whether it's in the county or the island as a whole, or the way that they've competed at the state level, you know, the expectations are so insanely high. And Garden City under Steve Fennell continuing the legacy built upon by his predecessors, most recently Doc Daugherty.
Yeah, and there's few people who are going to understand that expectation better than Steve Fennell. He came through the program as a player, was a tremendous player for Garden City, went on to Duke, and then came back, as you talked about, was an assistant and JV coach under Coach Daugherty. And Garden City, you look at championships by school, Ward Melville added another one today. Garden City trying to keep pace.
And I think what's so interesting about that list is obviously Garden City and Manhasset are rivals. That's number one. But number two, except for a brief period of time, 2009, 2010, when Manhasset won back-to-back state championships in Class C, going undefeated in those 2 years, you're competing in the same county, in the same class. And so that's what makes that rivalry, you know, arguably the best on Long Island, because if you beat your rival, you could be good enough to be the best on the island. And that's what makes that series one of the best in the country.
And if you get out of Nassau County, if you're one of those two programs, you feel good about your chances in the state.
behind the back. Oh, the exclamation point comes early this afternoon. James Basile snaps it to the back of the net.
James Basile just sort of lulled the defense to sleep, caught everybody off guard with the behind the back goal. And Garden City a commanding 8-2 lead now here in the third.
Only unassisted goal today for Garden City, as the Trojans take their largest lead of the game. Feels like ages ago that Harborfields opened up the third quarter with a tally, pulled to within 3. Garden City and Justin Coppola playing make it, take it since then. Steinbach, Curtin in transition, Basile behind the back. 3 in a row for Garden City, and the Trojans have reclaimed momentum.
Glenn Levy talked about Garden City having those expectations, knowing what the end goal and the end result they want is to be, and trying to match their intensity. So far today, Garden City, you could tell the confidence swelled after the Nassau County final against Manhasset. They're peaking at the right time for sure.
Joe Scatterigia inverts. Muldoon around the screen to the back of the net. 4 in a row for Garden City in the third.
And Liam Muldoon has had quite the afternoon today. He's got 2 and 2 for Garden City. Well, not a whole lot to this. Had one screen, defense late to pick him up. Now Muldoon snuck one by Yorio. You know, they had 2 goals disallowed in this game because of crease violations, and they're still putting up some pretty good offensive numbers.
Coming off the wing for Harborfields, Gabe Cagnazzi, who typically plays with the long pole, getting in a couple of runs as a short stick defensive midfielder. Harborfields without, it appears, Ian McGullum, who's earned some attention from the athletic trainer on the side for the Tornadoes, so that dips into the midfield depth, especially defensively for Harborfields. Zach Yorio the save, off the rebound, makes another stop. Tracked it beautifully as Basile skipped it along the turf. Yorio out of his crease, Curtin the strong ride. Glenn Levy getting a bit nervous. Yorio was on sides, but he called timeout. Harborfields a stoppage with 5:22 remaining third quarter. The deficit is 7. Largest margin Tornadoes have been trailing by today.
Yorio saying, get the ball out of our defensive third. I'm tired of looking at it. The way that Garden City has possessed the ball, they've scored 4 straight goals in this third quarter after a goal by Folco just a couple minutes in to the third quarter. You know, Dave, and sometimes when a team is here for the first time, there's a couple ways it can go. There's a couple ways you can look at it. Sometimes, as you look at what they've done so far this season, sometimes the moment can be a little bit too big. On the other hand, sometimes it can feel like, well, they don't know any better. They just kind of play loose. And I think they've done that through this Suffolk County run. Right now, it just seems that Garden City is too established. They're bringing too much in terms of intensity, in terms of firepower, and Harborfields is having a difficult job matching that from a positional defensive perspective.
26 years since the last Suffolk County championship for Harborfields. Glenn Levy was a junior on that team. The rest of the Harborfields coaching staff also players on that county championship team. Tornadoes built up a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense over the course of the season. In a way, it was hard to size up this game as Harborfields only played Suffolk County teams during the regular season, while Garden City went 1-1, beating Shoreham Wading River, but then dropping an early April decision to Smithtown West. Flag is down. And it's a call against Garden City. It's a call against Matt DeSimplicis. One minute extra man for Harborfields. Tyler Wukta, typically a short stick defensive midfielder, grabs a pole to play man down.
Well, when you got one of your poles out, why not give one of your best defensive players a pole, let him go to work.
Trevor Yaboa-Cody on to play short stick defense. Aiden Costello has checked in for Harborfields as part of the man up unit. He's one in green. He wants the skip pass. Clementi too high on the doorstep for Durasmo. Garden City looks to clear man down.
That was the right decision, the right pass, just the execution wasn't there.
Ford Carney, a sophomore midfielder, as part of the clearing unit, jets onto the field and then trots off after a job well done. Just a couple seconds left on the 1 minute penalty against DeSimplicis, and now it is concluded. Under 4 minutes to play, third quarter. Garden City has scored the last 4 to take a 7-goal lead. They've won 15 Long Island championships, 14 of them coming in the state tournament era. Today's winner continues on in the New York State playoffs. Miscue there by Scatteregia. Ground ball battle ensues. Puccio is there first for Garden City. Loose ball hold against Harborfields. Trojans maintain. Puccio inverts against Clementi. Puccio got the scoring started for Garden City in the first. It's through the crease. Grover is there. Kept his balance as he got shoved. On point pass to Markowski.
Good speed from Grover. That looked real close to him being forced out of bounds by a couple of Trojans. He was able to get a step ahead of them.
Behind for Buckholtz.
2:15 left in the third for Harborfields. You figure get 1, maybe 2 before the end of the quarter, and then try and regroup between quarters.
A goal in the second Markowski, a goal in the third by Fulco. Jimmy by Fulco really picked up his game down the stretch. Glenn Levy saying it wasn't coaching adjustments, as he chuckled at his comments. It was really just the kids stepping up and improving their game as part of this 9-game win streak. Dolan shrugs off the shot from Clementi as the offensive leader for Harborfields vies for his first point of the game. On the restart, Clementi spinning. That's a wild shot.
Again, it's Clementi.
Garden City with the best defense in Nassau County, holding opponents to under 4 goals per game. Garden City ball. Great positioning by James Buckley.
PJ Clementi back up to Garden City.
Garden City has really controlled end of quarter situations, but not there.
Uncharacteristic turnover for the Trojans.
1 minute remains in the third quarter.
Buchholz at X. Under a minute to play in the third. Harborfields trying to win their first Long Island championship in their 4th appearance. San Giovanni, and by Fulco, play catch. That bouncer is wide with 25 seconds to go.
You can tell he's really comfortable in the alleys. He was calling for a shot earlier in the quarter, scored his goal from the left alley.
Clementi fakes the pass. 15 seconds left, Buchholz. Defense collapses.
That is why Garden City's defense is as good as it is. There is no entry to the crease without pressure.
Shot came after the horn. Yorio was there anyway. Garden City ends the quarter with 4 straight goals. After Harborfields got the scoring started in the third. Trojans in control heading to the 4th. Ready for the start of the 4th quarter. Garden City leading 9-2 against Harborfields. Nassau's representative has the edge over the winner from Suffolk. With Matt Shortis, I'm David Resnick. The 3rd member of our broadcast crew is Amanda Puglisi, who has an Harborfields injury update.
David, we saw Ian McGullum. He went out in that 3rd quarter, and I was speaking to the coaches and the doctors on the sidelines, and they were saying, look, it's hot out. He had a little bit of a heat disturbance. We took him out. We checked him out. He seems to be fine. We gave him some water. He rested. He is ready to go back and play in the 3rd quarter if they want him.
That's great to hear that the freshman is back on his feet, helmet on, and potentially back part of that midfield rotation. And I think it's interesting, Matt, we've had some warm days, I think, in the past couple weeks, but the humidity today has really made a difference where we're seeing a lot of towels draped in ice buckets in order to cool the kids down. We're seeing some players with cramp issues. It feels like a long time since we've had to really consider those type of conditions during the high school season.
It feels like summer today, and it's barely felt like spring at any point during the high school lacrosse season. You're right, there have been buckets of ice water down on the sideline, and guys, when they come off the field, towels around the necks.
Looked up, passes back after the Garden City face-off win, and add one more to the tally for Kyle Steinbach.
To harken back to it one more time, it seems like that Nassau County Championship against Manhasset was a coming out party for this Garden City team. It seems like in that game, they figured out their identity. They figured out and realized their potential. And as they move forward in this state playoff, you know, if they possess the ball, if they force unsettled situations, they are a very tough team to beat.
Another point for Liam Muldoon. That was his 3rd assist to go along with 2 goals. He had 4 points in the county finals. Face-off victory for Justin Capola and the face-off unit. He started winning face-offs after Harborfields got into a bit of a groove and started to gain some confidence as they closed the gap to just 3. Garden City opened the game with 5 straight goals. Their current run is 5 tallies in a row. Right at their season average offensively and defensively for that matter.
You talk about Capola before the county championship. James Sullivan, Garden City alum, great Fogo for the Trojans in his high school days. Came by and worked with him, gave him some last-minute tune-up. Looked good in that game and has looked strong so far today as well.
Getting to the front was James Basile, and his shot gobbled up there by Zach Yorio. By Fulco. Works it inside for the Tornadoes. Their run to a county championship this year, Matt, I think was a bit untraditional. When you talk about program building, usually it's pretty incremental. But Harborfields took a bit of a different path in the 5 years under Glenn Levy. He started with back-to-back 11-win seasons. And then over the past 2 years, as Teddy Dolan makes the stop on San Giovanni, they went just 15-17. Through 4 years, there wasn't a playoff win, even though there were 3 playoff appearances. And yet this year, they made that monumental leap to go 14-3 through the Suffolk season and win that elusive county title in which they'd been waiting for 26 years.
Yeah, it is not often you would see a team go from 9-8 or right around 500 to county champ the next year. And a lot of it was because of the maturation of some of the players over the course of the season, not just from off-season to the start of this season, but the guys in the midfield that stepped up of late, some of the young guys that came aboard. I had a guy like Kakemo take over as a pole instead of a short stick. Defensively, they came around. And DeVito at the face-off, he made a huge leap forward as well.
There will be some big voids next year for Harborfields when you think Clementi, leader of the offense, Tommy DeVito, the Fogo, Zach Yorio, a 3-year starter in goal, and other seniors, including Lucas Colmer, scattered all over the lineup. But I think what we've learned about the Tornadoes this year in our discussions and our observations of the program is the contributing young talent and the foundation of a program that Coach Levy has built that he can really pull from in the years to come.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the future of Harborfields lacrosse looks like. Can they sustain it like the basketball programs that they've built? How about the job by Yorio down the other end? according to Coach Levy, he seems to think so. He seems to think that the infrastructure, so to speak, is in place to keep this program up in the top of Suffolk County.
Goalies trading saves. Dolan another stop after Yorio made a point-blank save. And while some talent in Suffolk dropped to C with the addition of a fourth classification like Shoreham Wading River, there are still some really strong legacy programs in B, whether that be Compsawag or an ESM. Great sportsmanship there by Yorio after a pole got flattened, making sure that his opponent was okay. That was DeSimplicis, who came in transition and took a pop. Credit Harborfields in the sense that they knew what the game plan was and they stuck to it in terms of their aggressiveness defensively and pressing out. When Glenn Levy came to scout Garden City live against Manhasset, he knew that if the Trojans played another A game like that most likely the Trojans could not be matched. But the Tornadoes' goal was to come in here and make things uncomfortable. It was like that early, and then Garden City started to move the ball. Jack Muldoon on the doorstep increases the lead to 9.
Well, Liam has had a great game. Jack adding his contribution for Garden City. And Yorio came out as an extra defender. Once he settled back in, I mean, the defense was so pulled out that Muldoon was there, and it was just 1v1 with the goalie. And that's going to be a point 90% of the time, maybe more.
Chris Jordan checking in on the attack. Holden Overbeck, typically a midfielder, has slid down to attack as Steve Fennell is in the process of rotating in some of his backups. Justin Coppola, though, continues to star.
That seems like somebody that can make Inside Lacrosse's all names team. Holden Overbeck. It's a good lax name.
He's a sophomore as his profile continues to grow. Yorio, the denial. Muldoon went behind the back. And even in defeat, Zach Yorio has made a couple of terrific highlight reel saves. There is a flag down.
Looked like Yorio got tripped up from behind.
Garden City man down. They have to summon back some of their stars. A push is called against Ford Kearney. Better name than Holden Overbeck, or no?
I mean, strictly lax speaking. I think I'm siding with Holden on this one.
Okay.
I forget when they put it out. I feel like they put it out in February usually. Inside Lacrosse does, the all names team.
Is that before or after the big reveal of the all flow team?
The all flow team.
I don't think either one of us would qualify.
No.
Outlet across midfield, intercepted by Harborfields. A shot on cage. Dolan there again. He's been so steady. Transition for Garden City, a rip from the outside, taken off the leg by Yorio. Returning all-county player for the Tornadoes. A senior captain, finishing up his third year as a starter.
You know, you're going to look at the box score and the final score, and you're not going to think that Yorio maybe had a tremendous game, but I thought he's played quite well. You know, he's had a lot of timely and good saves. It's just the way that Garden City has played today. I mean, when this game is over and you look at the shot disparity, it's going to be humongous in favor of Garden City.
I think you pointed it out in real time, Matt. That first possession for Garden City, there wasn't a ton of quality, but there was a lot of quantity as Garden City, I think, looked to set a tone offensively. Trevor Yeboah-Cody squeezing between two defenders.
Yeah, they may have taken 50 shots by the time this game is over.
Ball is rolling towards midfield. It's out of bounds before it could cross the stripe. Under 4 minutes to play, and for Garden City, they've been perfect since the regular season Woodstick loss. They avenged that defeat in the county finals after squeezing out an overtime victory in the semis, going up against a south side zone that really stifled this Trojans attack. Great finish. Costello. Aiden Costello for Harborfields late in the fourth quarter.
Well, Aiden Costello is one of those players that came alive late in that second half of the season. 12th goal of the season. Junior, as an 8th grader, he was a goalie, never had a short stick in his hand, and now he could do that. Coming off a feed to make it 11-3.
Justin Coppola steady at the dot. Timeout called. 8-goal lead for the Trojans. And there is so much emphasis, understandably so, Matt, put on this Long Island championship after a county final. And what is under the radar about the significance of this game is that this is part of the New York State playoffs. And a win in the Long Island championship puts that team into the New York State Final Four. And so Garden City 258 away from advancing to face the winner of John Jay Cross River, dethroning the 7-time defending champs Yorktown, the team that Garden City lost to in last year's semifinal, or Ballston Spa. Ballston Spa from Section 2, right outside of Albany. Also in this bracket, from the Rochester region, is Victor. They've won 3 straight state titles. Last year in B, 2 years ago in A, 3 years ago in B, so that could be potentially a formidable opponent on the other side of the bracket. And we will have coverage of today's winner against the winner of Ballston Spa and John Jay next Wednesday from Adelphi in the state semifinals. And part of that doubleheader is the A matchup, Niskayuna from Section 2. Again, the Capital Region taking down Mamaroneck 14-13, scoring 10 of the last 13 goals in enemy territory, while Ward Melville continues to rule the island. The Class A New York State defending champs, their 3rd straight trip to the New York State semifinals.
David Ballston Spa hoping for a Niski-like performance in the fourth quarter. They were down 13-4, pardon me, to John Jay Cross River entering the fourth quarter of that game. So it looks like Garden City on a collision course with John Jay.
John Jay beating Yorktown a couple of times this year. Pucci with a flag. Excuse me, Puccio, I beg your pardon. Weaving his way around the Harborfields defense. The slash assessed here, so a man-up face-off for Garden City.
Yeah, just too tough to stop. We've talked about their ability right on the crease throughout this game. Garden City has had some tremendous interior offense.
Lucas Colmer got called for the slash.
John Jay led by their 3-year starter in goal, Shahei Kachadorian. There are not too many goalies that come bigger than Kachadorian. He's a big dude between the pipes.
A lineman on the gridiron. Another save.
DeLuca from Farmingdale, who's now playing at Delaware. He's somebody that comes to mind as a big body in goal.
Michael Pascaretta, a senior, is in there for Harborfields between the pipes, doing his best Yorio impression with that save man down. Durasmo's shot knocked down. Under 2 minutes to play for the Trojans. If we add up the totals from Lax Power, Steve Fennell entered today's game 199-45. And there is a sense on the sidelines in the Garden City athletic community that this could be, in fact, win number 200. But let's be honest, when it comes to Garden City, the only numbers they count is titles, not coaching victories.
Well, they'll be able to get one of each of those today.
And Steve Fennell following up Doc Daugherty, who finished his career with over 500 wins, one of the winningest head coaches on Long Island and New York State.
1 minute remains in the fourth quarter.
Amanda started the game by talking about these coaches leading their alma maters, and that Steve Fennell has been bleeding maroon and white for a very long time. 1991 graduate, played at Duke, coached under Mike Pressler before returning to Nassau County, and he has continued the legacy of Garden City, about to pick up his 6th Long Island championship as the head coach. And the Trojans have been classy down the stretch here, pulling their starters, pushing the ball out, not going to cage with regularity. They scored the first 5 goals of the game. There was a 6-goal run in the second half. Garden City breezes into the New York State semifinals because the Trojans are Long Island champs. For the 16th time in school history, Garden City wins an LIC.
After a semifinal performance in Nassau County where they scored 3 goals in wet and windy conditions, they had to stave off Southside in overtime. They have put in probably their 2 best performances in back-to-back games in the Nassau County Championship and now the Long Island Championship, netting 27 goals in 2 contests while allowing only 8. It wasn't quite from the first whistle on, but it was pretty close to it. That Garden City led wire to wire.
In typical GC fashion, we've got a big decision to make as to who is the Florida Core and Design Player of the Game because it was a well-balanced victory for Garden City. Back-to-back Class B Long Island championships. Garden City takes down Harborfields 12-3 here at Hofstra. We wrap up the victory next on News 12 Varsity. A final from Hofstra. Garden City, back-to-back LICs. They take down Harborfields 12-3. The News 12 Varsity Player of the Game is brought to you by Floor Decor and Design with showrooms in Syosset and Rockville Center, or visit floordecorandesign.com. Our Player of the Game is standing by with Amanda. He is Liam Muldoon.
Liam, for the second straight year, Garden City, you guys are Long Island champs, and I don't know what it is, but when you guys get to the stage, the big lights, big games, a lot of offense, what is it about this team?
We're just really athletic. We love to move the ball around, sling the rock, make sure everyone gets their touches. We're conditioning every day at practice, make sure days like these we're staying hot and keep moving the ball.
Harborfields is a team, their last 5 games leading up to this one, they averaged 12 goals. How were we able to limit them today?
We were in between man and zone, trying to keep them confused. Our coaches were saying it's a mental game. The man and zone switching really screws with them, and I think that helped us a lot out today.
Coach Fennell said he wasn't sure which team was going to come today, the team that needed overtime to beat Southside or the team that came out on fire against Manhasset. So which team do you think? What kind of got you guys going?
I don't know. We're hot right now, and it's very hard to stop all of us because we got a lot of depth and a lot of athletes running around all over the field. So,
Liam, thanks so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, guys, back to you.
So while Liam Muldoon was our Floor Decor Player of the Game, the play of the game belongs to his running mate on the attack.
Yeah, James Basile backed his defender into a corner, lulled the defense asleep. A little behind the back goal for Garden City. Phenomenal day offensively for this entire team, but that's the highlight in terms of style points for the Trojans this afternoon.
Garden City and Harborfields entering this Long Island Championship, both on significant winning streaks. Garden City entered as a defending champ. Harborfields was looking for their first ever LIC. Hardware was handed out in Garden City's favor, and more hardware to be decided next. Stay with us on News 12 Varsity. It's the Long Island Championship in Class C as the 3-time defending champ Cold Spring Harbor takes on Islip. For Matt Shortis, Amanda Puglisi, and our entire News 12 Varsity crew, I'm David Resnick. Garden City captures their 15th Long Island Championship, a win over Harborfields as they continue their quest to a state title.